Looks like I am live here again, coming at you from Ziti TV. Right now, the plan for today is we're going to bring our guest star, Todd Burchell, into the chat. And we have Ken, who is my co host. Let's see, there's Todd. Ken is participating in a not chat only, but a guest only fashion because we're trying to figure out and try to test some of these restream capabilities. We're trying to learn our way as we become streaming citizens. Welcome, Todd.
Glad to be here.
All right, audio check works. That's good to know. So today, what happened is during the week, Todd and I were talking. We have this opportunity to write an interesting little blog post for Java Magazine. And so Todd has been tasked with coming up with some kind of interesting little toy application that you'd be able to use to, if you, as the user, not me, not Todd, but you, the user. And Ken, I did get a YouTube chat, so I can see that. Let's see if I can put it on. Ready? Here we go. Put user in timeout. No, that's not what I want to do. I want to show. Boom. There's Ken. Look at that. Okay, cool. So we've learned how to hit the chat button. That's nice. So what we're going to do today is we're going to start fresh and clean, right, Todd?
Yep.
All right. And then we're going to bring up a whole brand new Ziti environment. And I believe Todd is going to choose to use the Docker Compose methodology, which you can find. Ooh, can you go to, let's see, let me show Todd's screen real quick. Can you go to GitHub or no, OpenZiti.org, the GitHub.OpenZiti.org or .io? Is it .io? I never remember. No, it's OpenZiti.GitHub.io. That's what it is. OpenZiti.GitHub.io. Yeah, that one. .io. OpenZiti.
This one? All right,
OpenZiti.GitHub.io. There you go.
oh,
Perfect.
look at that.
That's the cool little landing page. And if you scroll down just a smidge in there, you'll see where it says build your own network, host everything locally. I love Docker. I want to use Docker Compose. So if anybody's following along in the home game and wants to go do the same stuff, you can come in here. You can issue that curl statement to pull down the Docker Compose file, or feel free to go check it out from the repository. You can then create your environment file if you so choose, or just grab it from the environment, from the repository, and then just Docker Compose up and you're off and going. So we're going to make a brand new Ziti environment. We're going to then see whatever IDE Todd likes to use. And then we're going to create a simple service inside of Spring Boot, using Spring Boot inside of Java runtime. And then hopefully we'll get far enough along where we'll connect that Spring Boot instance to another Spring Boot, like a client. Is that the plan?
Yeah, a client or a test or something. We'll
Or a
connect
test,
to it
okay.
through some Java code.
So the idea is we'll have two different JVMs, both of which are segregated from one another, emulating two clients, one server, if you will, and one client. And then we'll be able to connect exclusively through Ziti. And so that means we'll have to make a couple endpoints. And so that's what we're going to do. And I think we can get all that done in an hour. If we don't, well, then maybe there'll be another Ziti TV. Maybe there'll be a follow-up video. Maybe not. We'll just see how it
We'll
goes.
see.
All right.
All right.
So do you want to get started, Todd?
Sure, let's get started. Let's talk about what we're going to build. I haven't done the Ziti command line stuff in a while, so let's kind of lay it out and then go from there. So we're going to have inside the Docker environment, we're going to have Ziti controller and a Ziti edge router. We'll put these inside of Docker.
We get to see your skills using app.diagrams.net too. Draw.io. That's what it's called.
Yeah,
Draw.io.
Yeah. Position top. Sure, we'll do that. And we'll send this to the back again, and that should do that. Okay. So we'll have a little Docker network here that has our controllers. We're then going to have a couple of identities, I think.
I enjoy your
Uh,
dedication to keeping the screen small.
yes, because I like to scroll a lot. Yes, thanks. All right, how about this? Is this
Hey,
better?
look at all that.
All
So much room
right,
for
look at the
activities.
room. Yeah, thanks, appreciate that. All right. So we'll have a client that will use the ZD Desktop Edge for Windows, just so that we can test the service before we start writing our Java client, just to make sure that things are up and running. And then we'll just have a client. This will be our
Todd, we have a
identities we'll use to
chat. We have
connect.
a chat message in from our chat
Oh, a
friend.
little too small to read. How about
Yes, the
this? Is this
text
any
is a
better?
little too small. Can you like control zoom me? Yeah, that looks better to me.
Like
What about
this?
you, Ken? How's that chat? Let us know if that's not good enough.
All right. So we'll do this, and we'll just call these clients. And we will, pardon me, I'm clicking all over
Now,
the place.
when you have ZDo client right there, that
Mhm.
means the ZD Desktop Edge for Windows. Is that what that
Yes, it
means?
does. Yep.
Gotcha. And client is going to be a Java-based Spring Boot client?
Yes. Either Spring Boot, we'll see if we get to a Spring Boot based client, but at least a Java client.
Oh, okay. Right. Sure. I keep focusing on Spring Boot since it's so important to us all.
Yes. Uh, That is that is why we are here. All right. And let's
Chat
call
has
this
confirmed that the size is now adequate.
excellent.
In
Thank you,
fact,
chat.
I could also get us out of this picture, and we could even make it even a bit bigger. Let's do that for the time being.
Yeah, nobody needs to see her faces in this.
Oh, I disagree. That's part of the charm.
All right. So we've got a set of clients and a set on the demo server here. The demo server will be the Spring Boot app in the back end. So those are going to be the components that we need.
Hmm.
We'll then need a couple of policies, right, that are going to allow our clients to connect to our edge routers.
Okay.
So these will be edge router policies.
Do you plan on making more than one? Only reason I ask is I don't
Eh,
know. I don't know if the Docker based Compose actually makes any policies. I think it doesn't.
It does
The
not by default. We will need to
yeah
build them.
the quick start, if you host it all yourself locally, that there's a little script that you can source the ZDCLI functions, and when you run the express install on that, it will make a policy. It'll make an all edge routers for all public edge routers for all
Okay.
endpoints policy for you.
Yeah, I'm not using those quick starts, so we'll just go and we'll create these kind of manually.
Love it.
Right. So we'll need to create an edge router policy to allow our clients to connect, and the service edge router policy to allow our service to connect. And then we'll need to create. Let's see if I wonder if we can do this. I'm looking for a way to make this curved. So maybe we can
Love it.
do something like this.
Okay. The more convoluted, the better. It's fantastic.
Yeah. The more random stuff we have.
So,
That's a little
what
ugly,
is
but we'll
this?
add this.
What does
So
that
this is
represent?
going to be the dial policy
Okay.
that will allow the clients to dial the server so
Hmm.
that we can establish communication there. And we also need one more policy, and I apologize, this is getting ridiculous, but the layout, this is thinking on the fly, right? So we'll need one more policy here, which is the bind policy.
Yep. And what does that bind policy mean?
And
What is that for?
the bind policy allows the identity, the demo server identity, to bind the service so that it publishes into the ZD network that I am available and I have permissions to set this route up so that you can contact me.
Cool. So that's basically the equivalent of creating a listener in that server, so that other endpoints are able to dial into that server.
Correct.
Without a bind policy, you won't be able to dial that service.
Right.
Fantastic. All right. Well, this all makes perfect sense to me.
All right, so let's build it.
Cool.
This is probably also too small, so make us a little bit.
By chance, do you have already created a little cheat sheet for these things?
I do, but I would like to see if we could do this kind of live and typos
Ooh,
and stuff.
love
So
it. Exciting.
yeah, it's
I, lo- I enjoy your energy, Todd. All right. So, what's our first step?
so first step here is looking at a Docker Compose file.
Hmm.
So I pulled this Docker Compose file down from the start script that we looked at the beginning, and I trimmed it down a little bit before this meeting.
Okay.
So we
So you
have
so you
a
curl
ZD.
down that Docker Compose and then just get rid of some stuff you didn't care about.
Yeah, get rid of a bunch of
Would
stuff.
you
So that
maximize this window for me too, please,
I
just so that we
can.
can see it all? Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe I could open it up in a nicer editor, but
No,
we'll
no,
go
this
from
is
here.
perfect. Yeah, this is
So
perfect.
the Docker Compose that is available on GitHub has a couple of different networks and a few different routers to segregate between networks. And I didn't need all that stuff for this demo. I just needed a controller and an edge router. So I stripped everything else out. So we just have a ZD controller. This is using the quick start, which is available on Docker Hub. You don't need any special permissions. It's publicly available. You can just go grab it. And the ZD Edge router, same thing, just these quick start Docker images that are hosted up there.
And
And
now,
one ZD network.
I welcome the hate from the Docker purists who despise the fact that one image can run both of these things. I'm sure if anybody's watching and catches that, direct that hate to me. Thank you. I did that. So you can definitely run a router or a controller using the same Docker image.
Right, so let's just bring that up. Of course.
Yeah, so this is interesting because you're using the same because you're using Docker Compose, you have to do a down minus V in order for that volume to be deleted. And if you don't do a down minus V, it'll just turn it off and leave the
Yeah.
volume behind, which is just a Docker ism.
Yep. I thought I'd done that before, but apparently not.
Yeah, just explaining it for anybody who might be watching.
Okay, so now if we look, we have the controller running and the edge router running. I did add a little entry into my host file. This is also in the quick start
Ah,
guide that redirects the ZD Edge controller and ZD Edge router names to localhost
very
so that they can
important
reference
because
them
this
in name.
stuff all is sitting inside of Docker's network now. And so
Right.
if you don't expose these things with, if you don't use your name of your host, you've got to allow your networking to be able to identify ZD Edge controller is your Docker controller, etc. Yep. Cool.
Yep.
Cool.
All right. So then let's going to keep going back to reference our document here. So this point, this part is done. So we've got our Docker environment up and running. So let's create some identities. I'm just going to reuse my login command. To create them, we use the ZD CLI.
And since we are running everything in Docker local, the username and password don't need to be changed.
Right.
Although if you're running it on your own, I
You
recommend you
don't want
change it.
these. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah. You might have noticed I am running a Windows OS and I'm running these commands inside a Windows desktop for Linux environment. I'm using WSL2 with an Ubuntu image. So it's kind of what this environment is. All right, so we have Docker Compose. So then we can go ZD Edge create identity Z do client. So we'll write out the JSON file. JWT, and we will give it an attribute of clients.
And an attribute is just a way of grouping identities. So this attribute-based access control. So you can create services and assign services to individual endpoints using attributes as opposed to directly referencing them or as opposed to a role-based.
These are going to be devices. They're not individual users that we're creating identity for a device.
And that moniker is not particularly important. Doesn't matter if you use user or device, but it's just a way for you to organize it if you desire. Cool.
So now we have
Typos and all.
typos and all, baby. You got it. All right. So we've got the Ziti client. Let's create just the client, and I'm just going to hit the up arrow to try to mess other things up, but we'll do that. Now we look back at our little image and this part. We've now created these. And we'll create the one for the server. Put it in the group it by servers. Call it demo server. So now we have our identities. Let's just enroll them so that we have the identity files that we'll need later.
Okay, so now we have 3 identities, one for your desktop edge for Windows, the Java client, and the demo server. Cool. And now you're enrolling. Well, you've enrolled the Zdo client, which was a.
I have not. I've enrolled the
Oh, you
client and the
didn't.
demo
Oh,
server.
cool.
And then we're going to come over to the desktop edge here.
Look at you. I thought you
And
made a mistake there.
I might have this kicking around from when I practiced this, but we will confirm that.
You mean this is not the first time you're doing this?
It is the first time I'm doing this today. Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
All right. So we will add an identity. Let's actually, just for making this easier, we'll move the Zdo to mount C users. Put it right in the downloads folder so that we know how to find it here. We'll grab the client.
Okay.
And we roll in, and we will see now that we have no services, but it is enrolled.
And you can see the controller URL there too, ZD Edge controller. Cool.
Yep. All right, so that part is done. If we go back to our diagram, now this part is done. I don't know, we'll make it purple. So policies, I think, are next. Actually, we have to do one more thing first. If we look at our edge routers, there are no role attributes on the edge router. I want to change this so that when we create our policies, we can reference them by a group. So
well, you can do that out of the gate by using all for what it's worth.
Can.
But I know where you're going.
We'll just put it in a public edge routers group. And for some reason, my left and right hand are getting confused this morning, and I don't like to type I's. All right, so now if we look at this again, we'll now see that we have a public edge routers.
Yep.
So let's create a policy.
I find your ordering interesting because I always make my service first and then make my policies, but it doesn't matter.
I have forgotten to create the service. Thank you for that. Let's create the service.
Oh, well, I mean, you can still make your edge router policy. That's fine.
All right. Sure. And we'll call this public client router policy. We'll give it identity roles of clients, and we'll give it edge router roles of public edge routers. All right. And then we're going to need a service router policy. Call it public server router policy, and then this is now service roles.
Don't forget your, yeah. Don't forget to change the attribute there.
Yep. And this becomes servers.
Okay, so now what we're doing is we're granting any identities which have clients or servers as the roles access to the public edge routers. Do you need the hashtags? I never
Yes.
remember.
Yeah, you do
All right, you're
here.
doing this one. Yeah, right. Yeah,
Yep.
yep. Because
I
you're
just
referencing
forgot an
them.
edge here. Yep.
I gotcha.
Yeah, so the difference is there's role attributes and then selector attributes. And when you're creating a role attribute on an entity or a service or whatever, you
Right.
don't need the pound. But when you go to reference it, you do, because you can either
Exactly.
reference it through an attribute with the pound sign or reference it directly by name with an @ sign.
Gotcha.
All right, so now we have these policies created. Here. So let's actually create the service that we're going to dial. I'm going to use so ZD Edge create service. Actually, I think I need some configs first.
Yeah, you do. You do need the config first, for sure. When you create the service, if it doesn't exist, when you create it again, the linkages won't be there. So if you
Yeah,
are recreating a config, you need to recreate the services as well.
that's a good point. All right, so I am going to cheat a little bit on this because I never quite remember the
It's a
the
bit
format.
wordy.
So yeah, so this is a ZD tunneler client, that v1 config, and we're going to give it host name tv.openzd.org. This is just, it can be any the URL that you want to reference the service
Would you
by.
would you do me so much of a favor and don't use a legitimate top level domain? Will you
Sure.
just use .openzd? So what I want to show here is the fact that this is a fictitious domain name, does not need to adhere to any DNS naming standards. So if you don't have a top level domain such as OpenZD, which clearly is not a valid top level domain, it doesn't matter.
All right. So now we have our config created. Now we can create a service with it. And we'll give it just an attribute of demo service to match the name.
Sure.
Or we
That
can
will
give
be
it services
confusing.
or whatever. All right,
That
let's call it
yeah.
services then.
That will be confusing when you wonder why it matched a group and you didn't expect it to match a
Yep.
group. Yeah.
All right, we'll do that. So now we have our service created.
Now you
So
didn't reference the configs when you made that, did you? Oh yeah, it did right
yes, I
there. I
did.
see it.
Yep.
I see it.
And that's going to be this guy. I don't know. We'll do that. Make it really hideous to look at, and maybe in this case, you'd be thankful to be colorblind. All right. I'm just kind of marking off as we go along. All right.
Okay.
So now we need. I should have looked at that when we were there. Now we
Yeah.
need our bind policy and our dial policy.
Yep.
All right. So create service policy. We'll do the bind first. And I forgot what needs to go in here. So we'll look at this and we'll do entity roles. And this is going to be servers. So the identity that we created with the demo server in the before will be what we're anything with that identity group can be able to bind this service. The service roles will be services. If I can type, like so. And what did I forget? Edge create service policy name.
It's capital B for bind as well.
So now, and then we need a dial policy. We'll make it so clients combine can dial services.
Okay.
So now if we look at the policy advisor, identities perspective, and if I could spell Ziti again, we would be okay. All right, so we have some errors here. Service has no edge routers assigned.
Did you make that edge router policy?
I thought that I did.
I don't remember seeing it, but I could have been watching chat. You did.
So public edge routers, clients, I don't see public edge routers services. So let's do that. Do I need
This would not, yeah, I would not expect you to make a router for a um an edge router policy for services. That would be a service edge router policy. Yeah.
all right,
You
so we have this. Oh, I think we might have a tag mismatch.
getting to explore some of the good ZD CLI options available too.
So I have a
Yeah.
role attribute of services, but my selector role is servers. So update the policy
Mhm.
to services. And if I actually do the right thing, roles. Okay. Now, if I do the advisor,
Okay.
we can see the client is okay.
Yep. Now just this demo server.
And this is okay. And demo server identity has, I probably did same thing. So this is saying that the demo server itself, all right, let's take a look at that. That should fall into the service edge router policy, right?
No, for an identity to have access to edge routers, it would be an edge router policy. Okay.
Typing is hard today.
And so where's our we don't have one for servers in here.
We do not.
We do have an
Let's
edge router.
create one.
We do have an edge router role and identity roles. That must have been created by itself.
Yes, this is the system
Yeah.
edge router. Yeah.
And this is generally why I will use hashtag all for public
Yeah.
edge routers, is to avoid this particular snafu.
Yeah, that probably would have been quicker for this.
I mean, we still got 30 minutes to write code, Todd. Don't worry.
Right, so if we do that,
Policy advisor.
policy advisor, identity has no edge routers assigned.
Why don't we just make it all public?
Yeah.
Just we'll skip it. Whatever we got. All right, we got a little typo in there somewhere. I'm wondering if the identity roles being services and servers has caught us.
It could be.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. Cool.
So I have to look at this and then look at
And
save and
now,
review. Everything is okay. So
well,
in
what did you do
Ziti,
differently there?
the first one I looked at it from the identities perspective. The next
Mhm.
one was from the services perspective.
Oh, gotcha. The identities perspective does have me a little concerned because the ZD Edge router does not have access to any services. Do you see that one?
That's the ZD Edge router identity that is created when I um, the the
But
Edge
it
routers
doesn't
tunnel are
matter.
enabled, and we're
Gotcha,
not using
because
that one.
we're going to go directly, so it's not going to matter. Fantastic.
Yeah. So now if we look in here, my ZDoo client has one service available.
All right. What does it look like? So
So
tv.openzd on
ZD
port 8080.
port
Cool.
8080. Yep. All right. So let's
We're gonna write code now?
start writing code.
Yay.
So I'm gonna pull down the REST. There's a REST service example from
Yep.
Spring. We'll just
Perfect.
use that one,
Perfect.
and let's go. Well, I guess to finish this off, we did these. All right. So let's open up. I'm going to use IntelliJ to do
Okay.
this. And we're going to open a project that happens to be in the right folder. Look at that. I wonder why that is. Okay.
It's almost like you did it before.
Almost like just almost. So let's open it as a Maven project. That seems to work better for me these last couple of days. So
All right. It's funny. I've come back to liking Maven more and more.
yeah, I go through phases
Yeah,
of one versus
sure.
the other. Maven is lower code and kind of easier to. I don't know.
Yep,
For quick stuff, I find it a little bit easier. For more complicated build process, I really do like the flexibility of Gradle.
sure.
For this, I
Maven's
don't
a
know.
bit more heavy-handed on what thou shalt do as
Yeah.
well. Guido's like, yeah, you figure it out.
All right. So now we have a project in here. Why didn't it find? All right. Well, let's add a configuration. Spring Boot. Call it demo server. Hmm.
Does IntelliJ let you right-click on that POM and execute it? Like, does it need to be refreshed or something along those lines? I don't even know.
It shouldn't need to be, but it's possible since we're still synchronizing output directories that it hasn't fully loaded my project yet.
Hmm.
But we just will say, here's the service application that I want you to run. Yeah, it just hasn't finished that part yet. Will you actually run?
That looks good.
All right, so we're up and running. I just want to test it, right, and make sure.
Sure.
Since
Yep.
this is running in Windows, we'll just hit it here. And this comes with a greeting controller. Takes a name, a parameter. It should spit back. This is the response that we expect to see. So
Mhm.
our server is up and running.
Now, at this point, can you go to tv.openzd? Would it work?
Let's see.
You'll probably have to curl there.
Probably that might help. Thank you.
That does not seem like it has resolved. Should that
Yeah,
should have
it
worked, right?
has resolved. But because we have our service here,
Mhm.
right? So if we give it a -v, it is able to resolve it, but there's no There's no service on the back end, so there's nothing to respond.
And so the problem is that the Ziti listener has not been enabled yet, correct?
Correct. There's no in the
Perfect.
ZD network parlance. There's no terminator for it.
Makes perfect sense. All right.
So let's add a terminator. So we need to add a dependency. So out on the, this is the wrong one, and apparently, there we go, this one. So out on Maven, maven.org and the Maven Central, there's a OpenZD Spring Boot dependency. We're just going to grab this and add it to our project.
How very handy.
Yeah, it does make this a lot easier. At least we'll see. So we'll save that. We can go back into the build and have it resync. And this will download the dependency and update my project. And then out in our GitHub repository, there's some configuration that we need to do to enable the Tomcat intercept, the Tomcat customizer, so that Tomcat stops listening on the HTTP port and starts binding a ZD service for incoming connections.
Cool.
So we'll grab these things. Here we need to create, I think. Yeah, we don't have a resources or an application folder. So let's create a new directory, resources, new file. And so we need the identity file. For just purposes of making it easier, I'm going to copy the demo server JSON file to the Windows directory. We'll just put it here so that we can reference it just by this name.
Sure. That definitely makes the little line shorter.
It does. It makes the little line shorter. And then we need the ZD service name, which is demo service.
Okay.
So that's the first part that
So we
lets
now
our
have given the
integration know.
configuration correctly.
Yep. And now we need to add our Tomcat customizer into our component scan so that we can pick it up.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll open up our REST service and we will just add this here. And we will also add the greeting controller here.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Need that.
Okay. Let's restart our app.
Todd, we have yet another request to make it a bit bigger. I don't know if IntelliJ will gratify your request.
I am sure that it will somehow.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever quite figured out. Like usually Control Scroll works, but I don't think IntelliJ respects that. And Control Plus doesn't work. Like I don't.
Yeah.
Well, let's just roll with it. It's legible. It says
All right.
chat, so we'll keep
Okay.
going.
I apologize for the smallness of the font. So if we open up
For what it's worth, it looks clean as a whistle on my machine.
Excellent. So if we look at what we're doing here, it starts up the initial one on port 8080, and then it shuts it down. It should shut it down. Well, we did something wrong.
Oh wait, I was showing my IntelliJ screen. Can you show me that again? There it is. Okay, so we got a starting Tomcat.
Oh, there it is. And then it also restarts Tomcat without a port.
Okay.
And connects into our service. So at this point, we've started a demo service protocol handler. And if we go back to our curl on localhost, there's no longer anything listening on localhost.
Okay, so that'll time out and never get there. Yep.
Yep. But if we go to OpenZD,
come on, hey, you did it! Look at that. That's pretty exciting.
Yeah, it's super easy,
So
really, to add this in.
that was shockingly easy. Like
Yes.
almost no code even.
Yep. Just a little bit of config.
Yeah, cool.
And we have a
All
service, and
right.
we can, as we hit it, we'll see the ID count increment, and yada yada yada.
And so what if I wanted we have 20 whole minutes left. It took you maybe 7 minutes to make that server.
And that's, I think, including downloading the code. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, fumbling a few a little bit with IntelliJ and answering my silly questions. Can we write a client for it now? Did
Let's
you
do
get
it.
that far?
Let's do it. Let's try it. I don't think I've done that before, so let's give it a go.
Oh boy,
So the
that's
first
exciting.
thing we're going to do is we are going to forget our identity in the Zdo client.
That's over here. Ba-da-boop.
So now if we go back to OpenTV, nothing.
Okay. So instead of just disabling it, you just got rid of it entirely.
I just got rid of it.
I
It's
love
gone.
it.
We don't need that anymore.
I love your dedication.
Foolish or not, that's the start, right? All right, so let's try this with a test.
Okay.
Let's call this I don't know, ZD network test. Ask me about that. We'll set ourselves up. Don't have to worry about this. So logger. Let's just actually do this. All right. We need a ZD context. Let's load that. Let's maybe make it resolve first.
Compilation's overrated.
ZD new context, yes. And we need to give it the file path, which is what, client
Did you move that file, or are you
JSON.
going to just
Not
give it?
yet. Let's
Okay.
just copy that file.
Okay. I wasn't sure if you're going to just reference the full path or copy it.
Just copying, it's easier for demo purposes. So this, and then we have to give it a password, even though we didn't protect it with the password. Get points. Points or
Two char, is it two char array? Yeah.
Yeah. Good. Right. And then we want to be good citizens here and destroy the context when we're done.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Now we have a ZD context. I think we can just dial the service directly. This is going to give us what, a ZD connection. All right. Let's see.
Where does that log come from? Gotcha. Didn't even see it right there.
Yeah, I snuck it in a little
Yeah.
bit. I have
So fast.
I just added a live template, S for J.
Gotcha. That's
And
pretty
whenever
cool.
I hit, just does this because I get sick
Didn't
of
even
typing
see
all
it
the time.
happen. It's like magic.
Failed to connect. Service not available. Why would the service not be available? Ah, right. The service isn't available. No. Let's restart our server.
Are you running the server?
Yes, I am, but let's just run it again. Well, if I stop it, it should tell me that it has no terminators.
That's what I expected as well. Yeah.
So let's run this and see if it tells me once again that it's not available.
Is there any extra information for us?
Okay, this is what's happening.
Oh, yeah.
Ziti, we are trying to access a service before Ziti has fully initialized its services in the backend. So to just for this test, we will do a silly thread sleep for 3 seconds.
Interesting. So I've not seen that be necessary. I must have been just getting lucky.
Yeah, I've seen this happen every now and then.
Huh.
So see now we had the, if we look, getting one services, right?
Yep.
And then we're dialing the service. We are connected.
So the new context is asynchronous, and we are executing the dial before that context has actually set itself up.
Yeah.
Interesting.
There may be a hook in there somewhere I'm just not familiar with. I don't know
Yeah.
enough about the SDK to
Yep.
figure that out. But
Yeah. Well,
so
we can find that out later.
yeah, we'll find that out.
Now we're getting
Post
the
an
no
update on that.
terminators, which is
Right.
interesting.
Which we expect because I
Oh, you
stopped the
turned it
server.
off? Oh, I see.
So now if we fire the server up again and run our test, now we passed. We didn't have a failure. We have connected to the service.
Okay. So now emit whatever comes back from the read, or we
Oh,
have to do a get still.
we have to submit some stuff. Yeah.
Sure.
So we can write directly. Let's actually set up a string here. Let's see how good I am.
Oh, this is good luck.
I think it's get greeting name equal Todd, HTTP 1.1, and we'll give it a new line. I think we need an accept header to say we accept everything. Let's see. So we should be able to write that request.
The accept header will need a colon on it for what it's worth.
Oh, thank you. This is probably 2 bytes, right? This is probably expecting.
Yeah.
When I'm looking, let's take my glasses off, pardon me. All right, so now we should write this. Let's
Looks reasonable to me.
put a little log info here that we're going to send the request. And then we'll need a byte, uppercase. Let's call it. I don't know. Give it a few characters. And we'll need a marker.
You can't just read to the end. IOUtil.
Possibly. I don't have IO utils in this project, I don't think. It doesn't look like it.
Hmm.
We'll just do it silly, right?
I thought there was a Java NIO that did the IOUtil. Haven't written Java for a long time though.
There might be. I don't know. I'm not a Java expert. Right? So we're gonna do con.read, and we'll start with 0, and we'll go to buff.length for max. We'll give it some marker that we've read it.
Looks like there's still no good one in the standard library. Lame.
People that do logging are going to yell at me, but whatever. And then we'll do new string buff 0 to I. And I'm probably missing something here, right? Yeah. And let's just add another log here.
Let's see. How well did you do? Reading
Not well
response. Do
enough.
you need the flush? Do you need the flush on that? No, you're reading the response, so got that far.
Uh,
You might need a flush on that.
there isn't a flush
No
here.
flush. I mean, it got past it, so it definitely is done, but it's not. It's as though it's not getting a response back.
I wonder if I need a host header. I might.
Oh no, actually, you know what you probably need is a \r\n\r\n 2 times to terminate your HTTP request.
Oh, yeah, that's probably
I
it.
forgot about
So I
that. I
think it's
thought
just
that
one.
before. I thought it was 2, but hey,
So it's one and then your headers and then another one. If you don't have any headers, then it's 2 in a row.
hmm, I also thought it required a /r.
Look at that. Bad request.
Oh, I mean, we got some data back.
We got some data. Yeah. I mean,
Like, you proved it worked.
it worked.
Where did it go to? What was the why? I wonder why it didn't like it.
Let's see. So we're going to do
400.
slash
Interesting.
greeting name HTTP. I wonder if it needs, yeah, let's what is this? tv.openzd?
/n, yeah, a plus,
Let's,
maybe. I mean, we've already proved it works, so that's cool. Now we're just going for the glory.
yeah. There it is. That's what we needed.
Hey, Todd, you did it.
Got it.
Nice,
So
nice job finishing that while loop too. That's always tough. You got that on the first try.
done that a few times. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, no, that's
So
I'm
in
happy
the
with that.
span of 53 minutes, of which 30 of those minutes were just explaining the overall setup of ZD, what it is we were going to do. Can you pop that back up for me?
Sure.
Your draw IO. So in the span of 30 minutes, we were able to create a ZD environment that looks like this. We were able to create a couple identities. We added a bunch of policies. We then went and Todd Todd then went and had crafted a Java Spring Boot app, and then crafted a was it a unit test that you ran that
Yeah.
did and then ran
Yep.
a test and sent all this stuff over ZD, which is not possible unless you have properly initialized the ZD context and dialed the ZD service and done all the good ZD bits. Todd, I've got to say, that's like the most impressive ZDTV I've seen yet.
Awesome.
So good for you, bud. That was pretty cool. And that's our ZDTV for the day. I don't think there's anything left. That's pretty much it. We did it all under an hour. So great. Thanks, Todd, for showing up. Good job being ready. Good job typing all the semicolons in the right places. That was good stuff, man.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for having me. It's a lot of
All
fun.
right. Cool. We'll talk to you later.